As I go deeper into the media space and my interest into creating my own story starts to grow, I'm constantly reminded that in this world of artistry, that people see you like Burger King and think they can tell you what you should and cannot be. Hello you beautiful monkeys, your boy Kadukun, and welcome back to the Kadukun channel. And I want to talk about this very specific topic that I've talked about before in February, but I feel like I should bring this conversation up again because of a creator known as Mugen Lord. Mugen Lord is a comic book writer. A writer of a comic book known as Vampire Killers. It is his own indie comic book, and he recently posted a video onto Twitter and onto YouTube talking about this very topic of how he struggles being a black creator. More specifically, a black artist. If you want to know more about his viewpoints about that conversation, I'll link his video in the description below. But in essence, the conversation that he wanted to talk about is that he has been struggling to communicate with other people, specifically other black creators or black individuals who see his comic and they can't seem to get their hands on it. Not because of the contents of the comic itself. From what it seems like he's talking about, they don't necessarily give it a chance in the first place because from what he perceives it as, they don't want to give his comic a chance because it's quote unquote not black enough. Now, what exactly does that mean? I have no idea, but I can understand where he's coming from. What he says in his video is that he has been trying to promote his comic book in a bunch of different cons, and he has this similar conversation where it devolves into this point where they're trying to understand why his comic book looks very similar to manga or anime, because they believe that it was going to look something else, and they try to understand why his manga doesn't have more black characters even though it already has, I think, 1 or 2 black characters. Why is it mimicking this manga-esque art style? And from what he also says, he ends up in this conversation where they try to preach to him, in essence, that he is never going to be perceived at the table of manga. He's not going to be sitting at their chair, something like that. You know, the terminology that a lot of people use and when it comes to this kind of conversation. And that he should shift his vision for his comic book just so that way it can match the black aesthetic, the black artist sphere, so it can attract more black people, because if it doesn't, it's not going to succeed. And that is something that is beyond insane, and I cannot believe someone has the gumption to walk up to an artist and tell them to their face, based on the work that they have done, that it's not going to succeed unless they follow the quote-unquote mantra they believe it should follow. And a point that he re-emphasizes that a lot of these people who are questioning his manga are the same people who are begging and pleading for the very black representation that they want to see in the public eye more often. I have already talked about this relatively at length back in February in a completely different video. How I believe one of the reasons why we're not getting any long-term black stories in specifically DC or Marvel is because a lot of those times we have to convince individuals to go in and to buy those comics and actually show these companies that say, hey, we actually want to see these comics continue and we want them to thrive for the foreseeable future. But this is another part of that conversation that I didn't really talk about because this is something that a lot of people, especially people in the black community, do not agree with. They believe that this is something that is completely untrue, but it happens more often than you believe. One of the main things that a lot of artists out there, especially black creators out there, who may want to do something from their own merit, from their own minds, to create something with their own imagination, they always have to think in the back of their mind to a degree, how is it going to be perceived by people who have the same skin color as I do? Which is something that I feel like is a ludicrous thing that you do in the first place. If you want to make your story, just make your story. Whether your character looks like a white person, Hispanic person, a black person, a trans person, a gay person, doesn't matter really what they want to be. Just make your character, and as long as the story's fire, I'm going to support you. But like I said in that last video also, a lot of the times when you make a story with a black-led character or with a black artist trying to make their own black characters in the mainstream, it always comes with an asterisk whether or not if they're going to support you or not. They are the same people that always say we want more black representation, but they support the very race swaps in Hollywood that doesn't give us the representation that we desire. It always adds more controversy to the conversation when it doesn't need to be. The simple solution that we always say is to make original black characters, make your own stories, build new IPs, or revive old IPs that people want to see continue. Do anything instead of just taking an already popular IP and turning them into a different shade, which is something that, given, yes, they are fictional characters, but it's going to give you 10 times more problems in the long run compared to you calling people racist in this current moment in time as soon as it's announced. Look at what's going on right now with The Odyssey. This is a movie that a lot of people have been looking forward to because a lot of people are familiar with the books, especially the original book following Odysseus. It is a Greek story. Now, yes, it is mythology, but it is still at its very root a Greek story. But one thing that a lot of people keep bringing up, especially since that they announced that the black actress that is now playing Helen of Troy, yes, they're gonna run around and call people racist and say, hey, you should just accept it and it shouldn't matter. It's a mythological story, it doesn't really matter. But then yet, we all know good and well, if there was a mythological story following African origins, given that the main actress that is playing Helen of Troy is also African, if there was an African mythological story that was created right now and they happened to cast Hispanic people or Asian people or white people into this mythological story, you would think that they would have the same energy, but you know good and well that they won't. It is something that they only want to say that is rules for thee, but not for me. It's such a disheartening conversation because given as myself, someone who is also black and want to create stories in the later future, it becomes very disheartening. If I wanted to create a comic book that happened to be led by a scrappy redhead who's Irish with a peg leg in a pirate story, I should be able to write it no matter if I was a white, Asian, or Hispanic individual. Doesn't even matter. I want you to enjoy the story that I provide. And then everything after that, if someone sees the person who created the story and it says, oh my gosh, this story is amazing, and they see behind the veil of the story that it happens to be a black individual or an Hispanic individual or a gay individual, whatever the case may be, guess what? That person might just still be motivated to create their story, and they're more likely to be like, oh, I can create whatever story I want. It doesn't have to be one way. One of the reasons why I currently don't watch a lot of TV shows that have black-led stories, unless it's a very specific story, is because some of them, especially in TV shows, follow the same exact mantra. Drugs, gangs, and killing. Drug gangs and killings. Drug gangs and killings. Drug gangs and killings. Baby mama. Why am I watching any of these shows? I want to see more people bringing things like fantasy or horror or sci-fi, something in any different genre, whether it's a comic book, a TV show, a movie, anything, a novel, something and or anything. So that way, if I do decide to create a black-led story, you're not looking at me as, oh, he's making great black stories. They're saying, oh, he can make great stories of any kind. I don't want to make a black-led story and I have to check every single box that all of these other crazy individuals, not just black individuals, but individuals in general, white individuals who want to defend the black community, black individuals in the black community who not going to buy these comics or not going to buy these books. Like, I don't want to check their boxes. I don't want to have to worry about, okay, let's make a black woman, a black man, a black child, and I have to do everything in the background. All the artists have to be black. All of the voice actors have to be black. All of this blackity black, 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 black. Like, I don't want to do all of that unnecessarily because it's stressful. Because even if I do all of that, how do you know for sure and you're going to guarantee the fact? Are you going to even take a chance on the story that I've written, even if I decide to do that? And then let's say I decide to make another story and I wanted to divert just a little bit this direction. Are you going to still support me? And a lot of the times those people will most likely say no, they won't. Because you are going to ruin the very vision that some of these creators want to have. They want to expand their creativity. That is one of the reasons why movies, TV shows, and a lot of these different places are just exactly the same. They do not feel original in any capacity. They don't feel different. Like, I can watch one scene from The Chi and one scene from Power and one scene from, I don't know, Raising Kenan, whatever the flippity flap flap show that was, and then realize that, oh, I could watch a lot of these different scenes separately and I will not know what show it's from. In fact, that's happened to me before. They follow the same tone, the same theme, the same thing, but then we see a lot of other stories with slightly more diverse characters or maybe a little bit more white in the mix of these characters, and a lot of the times they do pretty well. Now you might play around with the idea that's like, oh, because they are white, that's why they succeed. Okay, sure, but then you're not supporting the shows that might be just as good as this very creative show here, and that is why we don't see any more with more homogenous groups of characters. Look at Supercell. Supercell is a very creative show. It's a super powered show with black individuals or a mixed group of individuals with a very creative story that, even though it may have some gang elements to it, that is not one of the major focus. It is a very creative story. but we don't hear people talk about it very often. It is a very good show, but I hear a lot of people talk about a lot of these other shows. I hear people talk about Power all the time. I hear people talk about The Chi all the time. Those are shows that literally have no interest in me whatsoever because they follow the same format and I don't care. So I'm just going to say this right now. If you're an aspiring artist in general, but specifically if you're a minority artist, but artists in general, make whatever you want. Do not worry about the representation factor of it. It's not worth it. You'll be fighting a losing game. Because let's say you decide to make a black-led story and you do everything right. You have a majority black cast in the story and outside of it with the artists and the creators. They're going to ask you, oh, did you talk about the struggles of slavery for black individuals in there? Did you talk about how we are being held down by the white man in this series? Did you bring up any of these very specific things that a lot of these different stories want to bring up? One of the main focal points when it comes to stories is that we want to be creative. We want to entertain. And yes, you can make relations to real life standards all the time. That's always possible. That's why media has done well for a long time. But you need to understand that these creators need to be able to create. When a black artist makes something, take a look at it. You think you vibe with it? Buy it. You don't? Move on. Find somebody else. Do not tell them that they have to change it in this way, that way. And then you tell them, and then that's when you buy it. And then if they do that and you still don't buy it, you're wasting their time. Because they could have been making a really good story. They could have made one of the best stories that they ever created. But now it's perverted by all of this virtue signaling that you will not even give them the prime support that they desire. Take a look at someone like Kei Urana. Kei Urana is someone who gave representation for people who just have brown skin in general in her story Gachiakuda. And they're really cool characters, awesome characters, good looking characters. She does really good work with their character designs, their abilities of anything. And yet somehow, despite all that, people accuse her of being a racist because she decided to share a little goofy clip of a dude wearing leeks replicating Jabber with his locks. When there's other people who's done skits of all different kinds following different people. What is it now? Like if a person decides to do a comedy skit on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram and they put a towel on their head pretending to be a woman, is that sexist now? Is that what we're working with at this point in time? Because at that point, you guys don't deserve anything. Why should I follow what you say? I shouldn't. Kei Urana should be able to create all of her diverse looking characters without any problems and to have fun with her own story. She was on the internet just to interact with people who liked her story. And a lot of people like to confuse the idea that like, oh, MHA fans went to Gachiakuda. No, they didn't. These fans always existed. They existed when Naruto was around. They existed when Dragon Ball was in the very early stages. They existed with Yu Yu Hakusho. They existed with other series after that. And it will continue to happen as more popular things to occur. Whether it's anime, comic books, doesn't matter. It will continue to become worse. But we have two creators right here trying to do their own thing, having fun with the stories that they are working with. And some people might be enjoying it. Like, look at my boy Mugen now. Actually got a lot of traction for his comic book because he talked about his frustrations. And a lot of people in the Japanese sphere actually agree with his statements and like the fact that Kei Urana is representing more diverse individuals in her manga. And people are starting to buy his comic book more because of that. Because they want to show that they can support someone who's trying to do something on their own, to show that they're trying to be creative. And a lot of people, specifically, who want to complain and say like, oh, he's just an anti-black individual, that's far from it. Because that same person is not going to buy his comic. Even before this was popping off, they would have never bought his comic. So I'm just going to say this now. If you want to make your stories, like how I want to at some point in the future, do it. Do it unapologetically. Make whatever you want. You want your story to be a blob finds a brick that has the power to make him into a human being and he eats rocks for a living? By all means. You want to make a one-legged gay girl finding love with a robot? By all means. Do something. Do whatever you want. Put your heart into it. And just ignore the noise of the social media specifically. Which I know it sucks. Like at one of these days when you do make these stories, you have to promote it and actually go through social media. So unfortunately, you're going to have to run through that muck in the first place. But just ignore the noise. Those who will like it will find it. And they will continue to support you for the foreseeable future. And I want to see every artist who is trying to do their best and enjoy themselves in the long term to succeed. and I hope you want to wish for the same for me when I start as well. But yeah, that's all I gotta say today. You know, this was a little bit more of a ranty video, but then again, like, this is a conversation that I believe that is important, and I am more than willing to keep having this conversation again either every year or every other month, because I want to promote these stories. In fact, I'm going to review Mugen Lord's manga at some point in time when I can. And if you want to check it out for yourself, it's going to be in the description below. There's the digital version and a physical version. It's your boy Kadukun. I'll see you guys next time, and peace.
FMA, handle business, don't play. On point when it comes to the anime. Jack and Daxter, ayy, let's go. The ultimate heroes, don't stop, we on the road. Kadukun, Kadukun.